Okay, so we're recording. Hello, today is Monday, 11th of November 2019, and we are on an extra kubeadm office hours meeting before the cold freeze of Kubernetes 170. So let's jump straight to the topics. So the first one is v1 bed3, and should we actually proceed with merging it in 117? Should we wait, or should we actually merge it partially?
Can you share your screen with the PRs?
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about this. Okay, can you see the doc?
Yes.
So this is the first PR. This is basically copying v1 beta 2 into v1 beta 3 and marking fields as optional. I have received some feedback. I think I resolved most of the issues. The PR is like really huge, but the main thing that is being added here is really the plus optional tag, and basically a small explanation just about it, or why this field is optional. So this is the first PR. The second PR basically adds a cut down version of object meta to v1 beta 3, and it actually uses it in place of the cluster name field of the cluster configuration. It also adds dummy object metas to init configuration and join configuration, but those are not preserved anywhere. They're just there for customized work. So I have received also some feedback on this. I don't think that there is anything blocking here in particular. The third PR is a little bit more controversial. And this is basically a PR which, although I'm the author of it, I'm a little bit like not in for merging it at this point. So this basically is an initial take on adding an add-on list to the cluster configuration of v1 beta 3. So basically, we just turn off comments.
I think we should go PR by PR.
Yeah. So this is the first one.
Before we go into too much detail, do you have, I'm not aware of the timelines because I'm super busy. Like how much time do we have in freeze to fix things up if we find them?
So I think that the freeze is on 14th, which is basically Thursday.
And when is the release date scheduled?
Let me just check on that. So
December 9th.
yeah.
So
Google integration.
Can you click on that link actually to go into it? So my guess is that, like, last day to get things fixed is probably around the Friday prior to that, like last minute. So that doesn't leave a lot of time in between the two, given the fact that there's going to be holidays in between.
Yeah. Also, this is like short cycle. It has kube on it, so it's basically like too much on the squeeze here.
Okay.
So shall we go PR by PR, and like, do we need to
I would like to add a comment at high level. So I think that my major concern is about the add-ons one, and the problem is that we are not addressing the integration with cluster add-ons, and that means that if we go with this version, we should assume that there will be another iteration of the beta configuration, which is something that I don't like very much because we are already at beta 3. And that's my major concern. And if I also consider that the two main customers for this news release that were kind for customize and cluster API for the optional field, we somehow received as a pushback from both of them, because kind moved to another way to apply patches, and people from cluster API asked us to make transparent the change of version. So my background consideration is that we can't go out with something partial, and assuming that the major priorities for this release are kind of evaporated, I think that it will be safer. My gut feeling is that for us it will be safer to postpone to the next release.
Yeah, and I actually completely agree with Fabrizio. So I think that we should probably just hold on for the next release. And well, basically the first couple of PRs are probably going to set in as is. Also the to-do PR of basically removing the use hypercube image should also probably land in. And it's not difficult to make this one. But we need to think a little bit more on the add-ons PR. So this is basically just a huge refactoring, because in my opinion, we need to just like start from actually refactoring the kubeadm internals itself to introduce some sort of a dummy kubeadm internal add-on manager, and basically leave the add-on list to be processed by that. This would also allow for a drop-in interface to be basically used in order to allow for the cluster folks to experiment and integrate their information.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to hear the opinion also from the other about the postpone before getting into detail about the add-ons.
All right, so here is my take on this. My question is, does the cluster API need a new version of the kubeadm API? Because I don't think we should add the optional fields and object meter as part of V1 beta 2.
So as far as I know, I don't think that they need a new version. In fact, a new version will be like a new version for them to deal with, because they are already dealing with beta 1 and beta 2.
Yes, and the cluster API already has workarounds for both of these problems. So we can technically postpone because of the workarounds. But
yeah.
Also for okay, Fabrizio?
No, I was only adding that they forked, and so they can live without this for another cycle.
Yes. So the first two are kind of clear. We can postpone them in a future release of the API. The third one about the add-ons. To be honest, I'm not even sure why we're adding this, because the only part of the add-ons that is currently blocking is the upgrade apply skip of add-ons. We don't support phases for upgrade apply. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have upgrade apply phases, we support at this point the full potential skip of kubeproxy deployment.
Yes, that is correct. If we have upgrade apply phases, this probably won't be needed for the near future.
Yes, so I have a concern that if we add this add-on list in our API, we have a technical debt that we have to remove later when the add-on installer is integrated. And maybe Fabrizio can correct me here, but from the initial discussions that I saw about the add-on installer, the add-on installer config is going to be fed in the kubeadm configuration file as a multi-doc. So it's not going to be embedded inside, say, the cluster configuration.
Yeah, I think that that is probably another make it. We just need to brainstorm on how to do things.
And this is why I'm postponing the discussion about add-ons, because I have a lot of concern about how what is the scope of the change of the add-ons to add-ons that we want to support, because the cluster add-ons project is proposing something which, in my opinion, does not fit the need of cluster admin users, and is something that I would like to discuss more deeply. And so the question is, we want to support cluster add-ons project, or we want to make kubeproxy optional?
We are going to make kubeproxy optional once we have the phases, which is the alternative way of making kubeproxy optional.
I think that we want to make kubeproxy optional, which is basically 100% sure. And the cluster add-ons thing is probably a secondary, and we need to just figure out whether the thing that the cluster add-on came up with is actually worth integrating. Okay,
so if I got right for Lubomir, it is fine for a no-go, and the next cycle is pushing for the upgrade phases. Rafael, opinions?
Yes, I agree with that. From my opinion, I don't think we should duplicate this work and just, leverage cluster add-ons when that makes sense. And yeah, I would vote for that.
I think that the feedback that we've received is that around add-ons, mostly the ask that I've seen at least are around kubeproxy. So if we're enabling users to skip kubeproxy, they should make us or let us buy some time at least.
Okay, so I think that we have an agreement here, and I'm marking v1 beta 3 as committed. So the next thing to consider, actually let me close this, is the first of the component config patches, which basically disables defaulting and validation, and also turns basically does away with the internal types of components. So we don't actually vendor in anything of PKG for kubelet and kubeproxy's component configs. So this is basically a pretty old PR. I just updated it and repasted it last week. And this is, as of today, the only PR that needs to be merged in 1.17 out of the whole KEP for component configs. So it's actually it's a huge PR, simply because of
Because of the renames of the imports.
Yeah, the refactorings. But yeah, I think that it had some feedback, but the only recent feedback was by Fabrizio.
Yes, Fabrizio, do you want to take a final look at this and LGTM potentially?
Okay, I'm fine with merging this one.
So we actually need to merge this one in order to remove our last dependencies on KK. So this, at least my opinion, is a must-have for 170.
Yes, the other one is the validators. Yasin, can you update the PR in the next couple of days?
Yeah, this is what I'm doing now, so it should be updated by the end of the day.
Okay, thanks. And that's the other import restriction PR.
Okay, so I think that we've got an agreement on this one. So I actually ran out of agenda. If anything has any other PRs that we want to...
I think there is a PR on machine readable output and also something, and today I created 2 PR on certs.
Okay, let's see. Just anything recent from kubeadm. So this is the first one by Fabrizio. This is the second one. It's, by the way, I LGTM this one already, but it was failing some tests, I think.
Yeah, I have to fix it.
Very
So,
fine integration.
Behind there is an issue with a long discussion between Lubomir and the person that filed the issue. I think that if you go down to my last comment, I think that the most important thing that we should agree as a group is the second sentence here there, because basically the user is expecting that kubeadmin manages properly a node where it is using phases for installing a TCD. And I think that this is out of scope of kubeadmin. kubeadmin is a node bootstrapper, not an etcd manager. So what is important for me is that, okay, I'm doing the PR, I'm helping the user to solve this problem, but I think that as a team, we should have, everyone should have, in this meeting should agree that we are not committed to make kubeadmin a tool for managing external TCD.
Yes, I agree. Also, internally, we've seen this request and also another request that was for managing external HCD node upgrades with kubeadm. And we also had a discussion during the HCD ADM meeting about this with Fabrizio, and we basically explained the same thing, that this guide that we have for the setup HA HCD with kubeadm page, it's something that should move to HCD ADM in the long term, ideally.
I agree with that as well. I don't think kubeadm should take care of external HCD lifecycle. If it's external, it's external. So the lifecycle shouldn't be handled by kubeadm.
Yes.
One question, do we have any docs that outline the scope and the surface of area of kubeadm?
I think that the original kit that introduced kubeadm is probably having this. Let me just see.
No, I think that in every doc we are saying that kubeadmin is a node bootstrapper, but the problem was caused by the doc page that we created some time ago that show how to use phases for creating an etcd cluster. And so the user are doing, okay, I can use kubeadmin phases to create the cluster, the external etcd cluster. I do expect that the kubeadmin manage my cluster. my etcd cluster. So
maybe we should document this. Maybe we should add a note in the same page that we can say that, hey, this is an example, and long term we want to move to something else. So please don't make assumptions that kubeadm is going to manage your external etcd certificates or upgrade.
okay, so this is okay. The PRs there, they help the user, but I think that we should also change the doc and add this note.
Okay, I'm going to create a ticket for the kubeadm repo to fix this.
Thank you, Lubomir. And the two PR that I've sent, just to give a little bit of background, basically one is making kubeadmin check aspiration to work in case of external etcd, which worked partially. And the second one is making kubeadmin cert check expiration and cert renewal to skip a certificate if they are missing as a file. I'm okay with this because I'm assuming that those commands are at best effort, so they should try to do whatever they can without failing, and this address the request for the user. So the PR is not too big, and I'm fine to sending it. I have already tested. It's just to make it pass all the checks.
Okay, I'm going to take another pass at the PRs, and hopefully we can manage these, like, if not today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Ruben.
Yeah, I'll take another pass on this one. Actually, I didn't see this one, but yeah. So,
Rossi, by the way, your PR for Hypercube merged because the hold did not work. I think GitHub was dropping hooks and the hold label was not applied.
Yeah, one question around the use Hypercube. If maybe I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, the deprecation policy sets dropping a behavior that is gated by an API field to 3 releases, if I recall correctly. So, like, for example, if the Hypercube image is no longer pinned to the Kubernetes versioning, should we drop this earlier?
The answer here is that, to my understanding, we can remove the flag safely in v1 beta 3, the Boolean flag for Hypercube. And if we trigger the deprecation for beta 2, we are going to follow the deprecation policy because the users can transition to the new API if they want to not use this image at all, or they can stay on the old API if they want to continue using the Hypercube. And the deprecation of v1 beta 2 is going to give them enough time to transition.
yes, so basically my PR, which actually merged, let me see if I can find it here.
It's on the Google Doc, Rusty.
Yeah. So basically, this one just marks everything with deprecation warnings, and if it's used, it's going to be basically, you're going to be flooded by several of these warnings. And what we actually can do here is we can remove the flag entirely from v1 beta 3. We can leave the flag present in v1 beta 1 and beta 2, but we can actually detach it from the wife of the config format and just ignore it after something like 3 or 4 releases or something. So that's just in case the configs get deleted a lot later. But Hypercube is actually a corner case. It's a drop-in replacement for the ordinary container images that can be used for the control plane. And it's basically, it's going to cause problems only if users actually used it to override it with some sort of image which they created and does something specific. So I think that for most of the users, it's pretty much straightforward to just set the flag to false and allow for the use of regular container images. And also, I think that most of the users are going to do this either way, because the big selling point of Hypercube is that the total Hypercube image is much more smaller than the combined images of the control plane, which is of course not going to be true in the like 1.17 and further releases, in which this is just the control plane binaries combined into a single image. So I think
Lubomir, I remember well, or we sent also an email to Kubernetes dev and Kubernetes sig-cluster-lifecycle about this?
Yes, I sent an email to KDev, no responses, and also the kubeadm channel, and no responses from there. So my assumption is that we either don't have users, or people don't care, or maybe they haven't seen the message.
No, I'm fine with the deprecation message, and the main rationale behind is that being this moved out from KK, there is no clear roadmap for this project, so it's really difficult for us to provide any kind of support on this.
I think that the PR from Rosti merged preemptively, and we should have extended the warning message to indicate that the field is going to be removed in V1 beta 3.
Yeah, I think that this is a good addition. I can probably file a PR tomorrow for this. But yeah, I think I have outlined here the how I see this. So I think that this is a probably good actionable plan. So we can probably proceed with it if you all agree.
+1 from me.
Yes, and +1 from me as well.
Sounds good.
I mean, from our side, just to heads up, at SUSE we are using Hypercube, the Hypercube image, but it's fine for us to move to, to a split way of having the control plane images, mostly because the problem that we have here is how is this going to be maintained on Kubernetes upstream, right? The Hypercube image. So it makes, I think it makes sense for kubeadm as a whole to move this way. So yeah, thanks for that, Rusty.
Yeah, like even for the V1 beta 2 deprecation, I am concerned, like if the maintainers of Hypercube wants to change the location of the image or the versioning or so on, how can we guarantee the same behavior in V1 beta 2?
Just so like, I know folks in the community, some community folks use Hypercube, but just from a security perspective, Hypercube, if you're doing this for a supported offering, is that if you look at what init does for the smashed binary, it's a security black hole. So I would highly recommend revisiting that concern. If you just take a look at the init routine, and you'll be terrified. So.
Yeah, it definitely has some of that. I wanted to respond to Yasin's question, because there is going to be potentially a period of time, we don't know, but maybe there's going to be a period where the V1 beta 2 API of kubeadm is still going to support Hypercube as a field, but the image might be missing. It's not clear yet. So the 1.17 image is going to be pushed to GCR. I'm not seeing the beta yet, which is maybe a bug, but I'm seeing the 1.17 alpha. So maybe the 1.17 release Hypercube is going to be really, pushed to GCR, users can use it using V1 Beta 2, but maybe for 1.19, when V1 Beta 2 is still going to be supported, the image is going to be absent at GCR at this point. So we are having this unsupported scenario, which we can document. We can send a mail to the community to explain the situation. But I think we should move forward with the V1 Beta 3 and simply say that, hey, we are dropping this.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm fine. Like as soon as we document things, at least for users.
I mean, one question regarding this can be an exception for the API, right? Like, if there is no point to have this boolean at all because there is no such image upstream, then shouldn't we just remove that on 119 on V1 Beta 2, despite it's not something that we should usually do? This is an exception, I guess, because it will have no effect. If you try to use that boolean, then it's going to fail because the hypercube image will not be found anywhere.
Yeah, I much rather. So this is my philosophy. People have different philosophies. I think that once we release an API, it should be pretty much solid stone at this point. We shouldn't change any fields. We can only change comments and documentation. I see other places where they deprecate fields, add fields, which is super weird to me. They're doing that for the sake of not bumping the API. This is observable in areas where some of the APIs are V1, and nobody wants to introduce the new, V2 alpha 1. This is a problem in Kubernetes. I think with kubeadm we should not add or remove fields within the same version.
yes, I completely agree with that. So like my idea is to just keep the field as long as beta 1 and beta 2 are actually there, but at some point probably start ignoring it, or like at worst just fail out with an error if the field is set to true.
Yes, this warning or ignoring has to happen in potentially the newest version of kubeadm that we are working on, because we cannot, ideally we should not backport such changes.
Yes, so currently, as the PR actually accidentally merged, we are going to basically dump several warnings if it's used. So this is at master, and it's probably going to land in 170.
Ross, does this PR also add a note to the V1 Beta 3 to the Google to the Go Docs for V1 Beta 3?
So this PR, I think, does not touch anything in V1 Beta 3. So it's not based on the V1 Beta 3 branch. It's a completely separate PR. It uses only the internal types. So this is what's basically enabling it to be a completely separate PR. And basically, it only adds a couple of warnings and an action required.
No, I was thinking from a user perspective, the user started using V1 Beta 2, and he got some warning, but this warning is not documented in the Go doc for the V1 Beta 2.
So you mean in the... Yeah, I don't think that, it did not add anything to the Go doc, but probably I should update it either way, because like we need to amend the warning messages itself.
Yes, thank you. So when you update the message, please add something also in the field description, so we get also an explanation on why we are deprecating in the Go doc.
Yeah, okay.
Machine readable output. Do you want to comment something there? I know that me and Rosti blocked the PR because so basically it's kind of tricky. I need to test this PR locally. There's the concept of buffered and unbuffered output, and I think the PR was buffering the whole output of kubeadm upgrade plan, which is not ideal because there are network calls during this output. For instance, fetching the configuration is one of them at the beginning. And it's really not clear to me how to proceed here. Maybe we should just, as the first iteration, we can just buffer the output and then potentially optimize this. By buffering, I mean, it waits. It waits until it can figure out all the details, and only then it prints anything to the standard output.
Yeah, I don't think that like basically kubeadm upgrade plan needs any buffering, simply because it doesn't output that much information, and it actually usually does this at the end of the execution of the command. So I don't think it needs any form of buffering.
Yeah, the only problem is that, so basically I think Ed wanted to buffer, if you look at the JSON objects below, he's buffering, he's streaming the objects like one after the other. Yeah, this one, like the upgrade plan item.
Yeah.
Which poses the question, like, where should we put generic data for the upgrade apart from per item data?
So I think that probably we should go with something like initial suggestion here, basically use a huge list. Simply because upgrade items can be lost somehow. Because they are going to be like many upgrade items.
Sorry, beside the technical detail of how it is implemented in the backend, buffering or not buffering, is there something that is user-facing behind this request?
Yes, the API object for the output.
Yes, but what kind of change are we asking?
Whether we should support a per item list of component upgrade plan details, or whether we should support one big upgrade plan structure with a list of components. Like if you look at the comment from Rossi on the screen. This is, I think, the change. I'm not sure if Ed updated this even. I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
Yes. So this is basically provides us with a way to potentially at some point introduce fields in the output API. If we proceed with the current implementation, we are not going to support this. We are only going to support per item details. And I don't think this is great. I think we should proceed with the... So first of all, going back to the whole feature, we already have machine readable output for some fields. We have some sort of a backend that is going to be alpha. We can claim support for machine readable output as alpha. But this PR is it's not super necessary for this PR to merge even. So I much rather block on this particular API change request instead of proceeding with this and merging a API type that is not that easy to manage in the long run.
Okay, I'm fine. If there is no agreement, let's keep this removed.
Yeah, I agree with Lubomir. So let's just hold on this PR and get it figured out in the next cycle.
There's also potential that Ed can update before Thursday, so maybe we can review an LGTM. I don't know.
Yeah, that is our 3 days.
All right. Do we have any other pending PRs in the KK?
So let me just see here.
This can be called cancel. I think it's waiting on you, Rusty.
Okay, I'll take a look at this.
This one I blocked it because it's doing way more than what is required. The PR is way too disruptive, so close to the release. For such a small change request, it's doing renames and refactors of methods. I'm not sure we have proper end-to-end tests and unit tests for everything.
Yeah, I think that it's too close to code freeze, and also code freeze is actually followed by kubecon, so let's not risk. So this is with this with remove system validators. I think we already did.
One question regarding the system validators. Do we still want to track the Docker version from KK?
I'm +1 on that because I don't think there is any other way to track this server version.
Well, we can definitely do it for the validator itself, the code, but we can't do it for the tests. So there's definitely chances to diverge between the test and the code, because there's, if I recall correctly, there's a reference in the Docker validator tests.
Yes. So, is it possible to run unit tests in vendor?
If I recall correctly, vendor does not include test files.
So we are not. If we change something in vendor, we are not going to run the unit test, and we are not going to catch potential problems in the vendor unit tests. Correct?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's a problem. But then I guess this is a question for the /build folks. Like, how do we confirm that our Docker validator is even, making sense to be used in the project aside from kubeadm? Because the node end-to-end test is using it, but if we are not running this unit test in your script for the verify external dependencies on this, it's kind of weird. But okay, so we can still run the verify dependency on the vendor package, but we cannot run the unit test.
Yeah, we cannot run it on the unit test. We can all just ensure that the Docker validator is in sync, not the tests.
Okay, but how about running the unit test as part of your verify external dependencies?
I guess that could work. I'll also try to refactor just to reference everything from one place, like from the Docker validator. I'll try to consolidate all the constants and see if we can just reference the version in the validator of the Docker validator and not the test. This would solve the issue for testing.
Okay. I mean, ping me on the PR. I can have a look later again once you have this updated. Are you going to use the latest stack? We sent multiple patches for this.
Yeah, I used the latest one.
Yes, Rusty posed a question like, how are we going to even manage this? And it's not super clear, but once a new release of Kubernetes comes out that wants a new version of Docker, we basically have to create a branch inside this system validators repository, and we have to start tagging with arbitrary minor bumps or something like that. We have to figure out the version process there, but we are going to need definitely new branches.
Yeah, I think that we should probably just start using the Kubernetes versioning schema, so we don't deviate too much. Probably even like auto tag upon a Kubernetes release, but yeah, I think that we can figure this out.
Yeah, that was my proposal, but it was rejected by Stephen Augustus and Jordan Legit. They say that you shouldn't do this because external potential future consumers, that we don't have any of that yet, but whoever vendors this repository, they need to have Semver. And Kubernetes, as you know, is not Semver.
Okay, so let's proceed with, was it the 1.0?
Yes.
So let's proceed with that. So the next thing, fix example command for generating C search caches.
I don't remember this.
I think this was on the documentation, on the types.
Ah, yeah.
Didn't I approve this already?
I think you commented that to remove that altogether from the.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We should remove this comment. Well, it's on the contributor in that case.
Yeah. So you want that 3.
So this introduced the new phase for init, but I'm seeing pushback on the other potential subphase we're going to add. So this adds a phase and a subphase to enable certificate rotation on init nodes. And we wanted to add another subphase under the same phase, but I'm seeing no consensus on the new feature. The new feature there is to whitelist mirror pods. So I had a concern whether we should introduce this new subphase and potentially not have anything else under that phase, but this is kind of required at this point. It's a super bad. It's a fix for a super bad bug. And the other feature, they are also considering.
But Lupone, if I remember well, we have also documented it properly now that we know there is a problem, and also we have documented the workaround. So if you are not comfortable with this, I'm okay in pointing.
Yeah, so even if we punt, we have to decide what are we going to do, because there are multiple options. Digging into some details of the other feature, I'm talking about the whitelisting. They have a plan for a couple of options. One of them is to simply tell people to enable this after components are deployed, which this PR is doing. And the other option is to add a flag for the controller manager to whitelist itself and also manage the list of whitelisted mirror pods. And the problem with that is that if they go for the second option with the controller manager flag, this PR is going to introduce a subphase that is not really, the subphase is going to be alone. And I guess it's a question, can we keep this phase and a subphase and potentially have other things later added here? I don't see that much of a problem long term. Yeah.
But when this change is planned to land?
It's 117, but given the couple of days and given the super small amount of comments I've seen on the PRs, I'm not confident that this is going to merge. So the feature might not land as alpha in 117. So we're kind of, we are scheming around this feature that may land or may not land in 1.17. Probably, what do others think? Should we block? Should we hold this PR with the new phase?
I think that we should hold. I'm not concerned that we does not support an alpha feature that landed 2 days before the code freeze.
Yes, but then how are we going to solve the kubelet certificate rotation? We still have to introduce a phase.
Yes, but I agree. But now the problem around the Kubernetes certificate is well documented, also the workaround.
Well, it's documented if people check the docs.
I agree with you. This is not optimal, but we are not in the bad shape we were before. So if we are not sure if to create a phase or a phase, a subphase, and so on, in my opinion, it makes sense to wait another cycle.
I'm fine with that, but in the other,
we are talking about an issue that was reported only by a user in 2 years.
Yes, it's a single user indeed, which basically means that nobody cares about kubelet client certificate rotation, which is fine, of course.
So I think that this is acceptable. There is a problem. The problem is documented, and not, from what we understand, not all the users are affected by this.
Everybody is affected. Absolutely everybody who is using kubeadm init is affected by the lack of kubelet certificate rotation. If they want to enable certificate rotation, but they are not getting it. That's the bug here, and
And what about adding the phase as a hidden phase?
We are adding the phase to support, to fix the problem. Basically, that's what we're doing. The only uncertainty here is, should it be a subphase? And I think I'm fine with this being a subphase of this. What was the name that we ended up with? Finalize, kubelet finalize, and it only has certificate rotation now. So I'm not, I'm not pushing for this PR to land. I'm just, I'm arguing that in any case, like, we should fix this. And the only way to fix it is with a phase.
So one question, what was the other pull request that you were talking about, Lubomir? I was missing that.
If you go to the kubeadm repo, there is a issue that is called whitelisting mirror pods or something like that.
Okay,
is it this one?
No. This is the old version of this same PR. If you go to the kubeadm repo, this is a completely different topic, but we wanted to add the same fix as a subphase of this kubelet finalize phase.
Okay, it's fine. I can look for that. Just a heads up, I wasn't aware of this issue, so I canceled the hold 3 hours ago. It didn't merge by accident because it's supposed to merge. It's on the merge pool right now. This pull request that we are talking about, the enable kubelet client certificate rotation. So
no. So there was an old PR that merged. This is a refactor of the old PR. It's still open. See.
Yeah, it's open, but it's on the merge pool, this one. So if you go to the, it's basically, it didn't merge because the integration test failed, but it, I mean, I removed the hold. I wasn't aware of this.
I see. So, I mean, we can decide now.
And the other thing is, I don't know for what kind of uses people are using kubeadm, but this certificate thing, they are going to find out in 1 year, right? When the certificate expire, if they don't use their own with 5-year expiration or something like that, they are going to find out that the kubelet client rotation is not working properly, right? For one node.
Exactly. They have to manage the rotation themselves. Currently, this is a massive bug. I'm not even sure how people are not affected by this. Maybe after upgrade, the TOS Bootstrap updates the kubelet.conf. Fabrizio, what do you think?
I don't remember. I have to check.
Because after 1 year, the kubelet.conf embedded client certificate should expire at that point, and the kubelet should fail connecting to the API server.
Yeah, that was going to be also, I commented on this pull request regarding that. I'm fine with this for bootstraps, but we also have to think about what we are doing to do with upgrades. Do we want to tackle this from kubeadm and fix the kubeconfig file, or?
So upgrades are not needed to handle that because the kubelet manages the certificate rotation. After we do this change, the kubelet is going to manage the certificate rotation properly.
Okay, and then the certificates are going to be pointed the right ones on the kubeconfig file, right, for the kubelet?
Yes, the kubeconfig is going to point to the symbolic links where the kubelet rotates automatically.
Okay, perfect. Then, yeah, I'm fine either way.
So
but
we have already so we have upgrades that fixes the bug on init.
Yes, this PR fixes the bug on init. It's not clear if somebody is going to have an expired kubelet certificate. This never worked in kubeadm. I'm not sure how people were not affected by this.
Sorry, Lubomir. My question is, so we are saying that without this PR, the user that does upgrade will get this fixed.
I'm not sure. I was asking
Okay,
you.
so I propose to table the discussion and check this detail and then decide around on this. Because if upgrade fixes the problem, let me say the potential impact is lower.
It's less of an impact. Yes, unless somebody does not upgrade for 1 year.
Agreed. So let's table discussion and check upgrade before saying the final word on this one.
All right.
So I'm reapplying the hold here. So I think that we are at the top of the hour. Thank you for attending. I'll post the video shortly.
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.